Which AWS certification should you take? It's a simple question, but it doesn't always have an easy answer, especially since AWS has over 10 AWS certifications to choose from. Each AWS certification takes time, money, and energy. And if you don't have a system in place to help you select the right one that meets your needs, you could waste all three of those. In this video, I'm going to cover everything you need to be able to make an informed decision about which AWS certification you should take first. It doesn't matter if you're a beginner, if you're intermediate and have been using AWS a while, or if you're really advanced. I've got the perfect setup just for you. If you're new here, I'm Greg, the creator of Thoughtful Techie Cloud, and each week I create a video to help you navigate your AWS Cloud and tech journey. If you haven't already, go ahead and smash that subscribe button right now because you don't want to miss all the good stuff I got coming. First up, I'm going to talk about what I call the AWS certification hierarchy. And while there are over 10 AWS certifications, AWS has done a nice job of categorizing them. So I'll start out with the foundational certifications first. The foundational certifications are knowledge-based certifications. They start off with the AWS Cloud Practitioner and the AI Practitioner. Now, these are going to be great for beginners. Now, if you're completely new to AWS, the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner is a really great place to start. The AI Practitioner certification is an artificial intelligence and machine learning based certification. And while it is in the foundational certifications, I do not consider it by any means, in my opinion, a beginner certification. So if you're completely new to AWS, the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner is a great certification to start with. Now, the foundational certifications are knowledge-based. So the questions are typically, and the content is typically around learning a particular concept and being able to identify what that AWS service or feature is good for, and being able to select that, for example, on an AWS certification. Now, when we look at the associate level certifications, this is a step up from foundational. So now we're switching from just knowledge-based certifications. So this is where you're going to step into the shoes of a specific role, and you're going to need to learn the associated content under the domains and tasks for that certification, and be able to absorb all that information, study up, and be able to go and take that associated certification exams. A really popular certification in this category, in my opinion, is the AWS Solutions Architect Associate. It's going to teach you the AWS Well-Architected framework, teach you AWS Well-Architected best practices, so you can build secure, cost-optimized, operationally excellent, reliable, and performant architectures. So we also have the SysOps Associate Administrator. If you're more so in like an admin type role, we have the developer. If you want to dive into the development type background, data engineer, if you're working on data engineer type pipelines, and then there's the machine learning associate, which is a step above that AI practitioner I was telling you earlier. So without getting too far down a rabbit hole in the associate level certifications, I would say typically those associate certifications are more challenging and they would take a bit more time to prepare for than a foundation. Now, your mileage will vary, right? But I would say foundation, and keep in mind there's no hurry for you to get a certification, or at least there shouldn't be. Foundational certifications, you're looking at 30 days, I would say, on average to complete these would be a good amount of time to pace yourself. For an associate, it depends on which one, right? And it also depends on your background. Say, for example, you're thinking about getting that data engineer associate certification, but you have no background in data engineering whatsoever. Even though it's an associate level certification, it might take you 8 weeks to complete it, right? Because you have no background in data engineering. Or if you're coming into this thing, you've been a data analyst in the past, you're kind of familiar with some of those tools, you want to level up to that data engineer role, you might be able to clear the hurdle over this data engineer associate level certification within 4 to 6 weeks. But again, I don't want you to get wrapped up on specific timelines. I just really want you to understand at a high level that really the AWS certifications you should pick not only depends on how AWS lays these things out, but you should also take into account your own experience. So we've talked about the foundation, knowledge-based certifications, associate, which are role-based certifications, which have you operating in that certain role. Now, the step up from that, we're going to take a look at the professional level certifications. These are also role-based. However, with these professional level certifications, you're going to be looking at more advanced architectures, more advanced use cases, and being challenged to solve more complex problems, right? So we have the solution architect professional, and we have the DevOps engineer professional as well. This is going to be ideal for somebody that has been working with AWS for a few years. You're not just starting from scratch. So for example, let's say you've never worked with AWS at all. You would consider yourself a beginner. You do not want to jump right into the professional certs. Not only are these things, I think the professional certs at the time of my recording are around $300 US. If you're a beginner and you're trying to attack the professional first, you could be $300 down the drain, especially if you fail those. And failing a certification, whether it's AWS or any other certification, it's definitely not a confidence booster. In fact, it's quite the opposite. So it's very important that you line your skill set up, what your goals are, work backwards from there to set yourself up for success, and choose your AWS certification accordingly. Now, there's also a fourth tier that I call it in the AWS certification hierarchy called specialty certs. So specialty certs are very similar to, I would say, professional, with one key difference. Specialty is going to stay within one domain and really dive deep on that. So AWS currently has 3 specialty certs. They have the advanced networking, machine learning specialty cert, as well as a security specialty. And just like the titles of the certifications would hint at, if you are taking the advanced networking specialty certification, the whole certification curriculum and exam is going to be about networking. Same thing about security. Security specialty, it's all security all day long as it relates to that certification. And the machine learning specialty, same thing. Another thing that's really going to help you out big time is to chart out an AWS certification path. How do you do that? You have to start thinking about, okay, what do you want to be when you grow up, so to speak? So, for example, I really wanted to be a solution architect. I came from a data center and infrastructure background, but I really wanted to jump into cloud. So I really looked at the solution architect role, and I had to learn what that was. So you have to look at the roles you want to do, figure out what it is that role does, and then work backwards from there to figure out, okay, what AWS certifications should you take? But there's a really cool way to take the guesswork out of it. And I've pulled this up on my iPad, but I'm going to include this in a link to the description below. So this is called the AWS certifications path, right? Clever name, right? And what's nice about this, on the left-hand side, it has roles and responsibilities, and then it has on the right-hand side the suggested AWS certification path. So I'm going to call out what I do now, which is a solution architect associate, the AWS certifications that are going to put you on a path to get you in this direction. Now, certifications alone, I should say, are no guarantee that, okay, you do all these certifications and as soon as you're done with the last one, bam, you're a solution architect, or bam, you're a DevOps engineer. There is another key component that you want to do as well, which I'll hint at and talk about here in a minute. But for the solution architect role, from 0 to 60, you'd want to start out with the cloud practitioner, all right? Then you could jump over to the solution architect associate, then solution architect professional, and then if you wanted to dive deep, you could add a security specialty to that. And that would be a nice mix of AWS certifications to really put you on a great path. Now, for the other part that I would tell you is very important, which I know a lot of people overlook, but they shouldn't, hands-on skills, right? It's great to go through the theory. It feels great to pass those AWS certifications. But if you get too far down the line and you haven't built the hands-on skills, what is the goal of an AWS certification? True, it's to build your knowledge set, right? But really, at the end of the day, what is it all about? You want to either be more effective on your current job or get a promotion, or maybe you want to build the skills to get out of a job you don't like. I have people that reach out to me, they're stuck on a help desk or they're doing desktop support and they're like, Greg, hey, I really want to get out of here. How do I do it? Well, the way you do it is you build your theoretical knowledge and combine that with your hands-on skills. That's a great recipe for success. So to recap everything, if you're a beginner, you're going to want to focus your attention to the foundational level. If you're completely new to AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner, that is your jam. If you've been using AWS 1 to 2 years, or if you really have a solid technical foundation, maybe you've been in a data center environment, maybe you're coming from another cloud, associate level certifications, typically where you want to start. Or maybe you've been using AWS for a while and you consider yourself more advanced, professional might be right up your alley. That solution architect professional or DevOps engineer professional, depending on what you want to do day to day. And finally, let's say you are a domain expert in a particular area, whether it's networking, security, or machine learning. You might want to go directly to the specialty AWS certifications, provided you're already walking in with an AWS background. Remember, this is a two-way dialogue, so please put your questions in the comments below. I really enjoy reviewing your questions and responding to you, giving you feedback. If you haven't already, like this video and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.